Live Life Being Adored, the art of celebrating everything there is in life, a podcast all about hosting, having, and attending amazing celebrations. Gathering matters, and you'll join me, award-winning event designer and publisher of Adore magazine, Kat Minks, as we delve into unique ways to have celebrations, why we have them, and the unique stories behind them, including places, people, themes, unique inspiration, meaningful events, and more. We touch on all kinds of celebrations and facets of them, from weddings, award shows, corporate gatherings, social events, kids' parties, birthdays, anniversaries, and the art of celebrating our gifts, purpose, and what we were created to do, which is gather. Hey everybody, welcome to Live Life Being Adored. I am your host, Kat Minks. Thank you for joining us today. I'm so blessed to be able to talk to you about all things celebration, hospitality, and lifestyle. I am the publisher of Adore magazine and owner of Adore Productions, an event design and hospitality consulting firm based in Minnesota, but I am happy to go anywhere my clients ask me to go. And we also feature hospitality and events and inspirational stories in our publication, Adore magazine, from all over. And I mean all over. We've had events and different community events and different public events featured in the magazines. And we are just happy to share what we know and connect people with other people to share what they know about hospitality, great events, and inspirational stories behind them. And really enjoying every single day that we have here with people that we know, people that we need to meet, and people that we just cherish in our lives. And part of doing that has been a little bit challenged. With inflation and the cost of putting on events can get so high, and there is a little bit of pushback now with the cost of everything to be more casual and to use different casual elements in events that are still very elegant. And so today we have the pleasure of talking to Maaren Spears. She is one half of a Wandering Fire Pizza, and her counterpart is Sean Kinney. He's not in the interview, but she also references him a lot in our conversation today, and I am so glad to share it with you. So take a listen to what Maaren had to say about the turn to pizza, catering the most elegant of affairs and the most casual. Do you have an offsite kitchen, or do you have like a catering kitchen in your home? Like, how do you?
So it is on our property. It is for Wisconsin law. It cannot be attached to your house.
Oh,
So as a commercial kitchen, so it is a separate building, but it is on our property. It is a fully licensed commercial kitchen, moderate complexity. So we can't butcher meat in there or fish and things like that, but we can do just about anything else. So we can, cook meats, and we can cook other things. And we prepare all of our dough there. We prepare all of our toppings, because what we do is a high heat. We use a high heat oven. So our ovens are usually around 950 degrees when we're cooking. So it takes like 90 seconds to cook a pizza. It's like really fast. And so everything that's on it really needs to be cooked ahead of time if it's going to cook. You can't put things on it raw if you want them to not be completely raw when you take it out. So we cook, most of the toppings are cooked ahead of time. It's where we do all of our, appetizer prep and all of that kind of stuff is all done in that kitchen.
okay. I love hearing like the journey of like what makes people's food so special. And um, I think that you guys just have such a unique product, and I can't, wait to see it in person, hopefully. When you say you do a long ferment, what does that mean?
So we make our dough on, we would make our dough on a Wednesday if we're using it on Saturday. So we want it to sit, we'll make the dough, we want it to sit in the refrigerator for a couple of days, and we'll punch it down every day, but we want it to sit in the refrigerator for a couple of days to it just gives it a lot more flavor, makes it a lot easier to work with. So we usually do anywhere from 2 to 4 days of time in the refrigerator. It's hard. I mean, a lot of places don't do that because it takes up a lot of space in your refrigerator to do that. And so, but the quality of the dough and the flavor to me is enough of a difference that it matters. So I'll keep doing it that way as long as I can.
Or what has been your most popular venue that you guys work with?
So I would say about a third of our events are, well, and maybe even a little bit more are scattered between three different venues, and they're all in different directions. So one is the Atrium in Solon Springs. So that is north. It's only about a half hour south of Duluth, basically on the Wisconsin side.
Mhm.
The Ivory North in Mora, Minnesota, which is, straight west of us, and then Hidden Meadow and Barn in Pepin, Wisconsin, so south of us. So we go these three different directions, and those three places probably account for at least 30 to 35% of our events. We do work with some other, venues like once or twice a year.
Mhm.
Some of them a little closer. But one of the biggest things we've seen this year, more than we've seen in any other year, is an increase of weddings at private residences.
I
People are
have to.
not going as much to the venues. Um, I would guess some of that is pricing, and some of that is the kinds of things that you can that are required from venues that people may not want to do as much. So
Well, I mean, honestly, any barn anymore is at least 10 grand. And
right,
I think people are feeling it, this year. Last year, I think people felt it. I mean, there were so many articles. New York Times wrote several articles, I remember, about the inflation squeeze. And that was one of the things that inspired me to contact you about doing, because I've been doing more of these podcast interviews. And one of the things that I am writing an article for the magazine about is the effect of inflation on events and weddings. And, you know,
yeah,
um, the fact that I'll have to find the New York Times article and send it to you, because it's so funny, because they mention, I believe, a bride having pizza for her wedding.
right.
And I kind of giggled to myself because it reminded me of you and about how you guys are doing kind of this new way of catering pizza for weddings. And I mean, 5 years ago, people would be like, no way, but now it's like, yeah, it's casual, it's cool, it's simple, it's fun. Um, so
And really, we've been, so this is this 2025 is my 14th season of doing
wow.
this. And we probably, the first couple of years took takes a little bit to get going. But by, the third or fourth year, we were doing anywhere from 40 to 60 weddings a year, every year. And so it's kind of goes, and it has increased with some of the more rural barn, rustic type weddings that have been really popular. The pizza kind of and the wood fired pizza kind of goes with that pretty well. And so that has been a real benefit for us. And I think part of it is also because we cook pizza on site, so we're cooking their food where people can see it being cooked. And when you're at a rural venue, you don't really know how long stuff's been sitting.
Right.
I mean, has it been in there for 2 hours? I don't know. And so it's kind of fun to be able to see your food being cooked and know that it's fresh and hot and not something that is, been sitting around for a long time. And so
Yeah.
there are things that we offer that are a little bit different. And, I do think there's a idea that pizza is cheap, as a, very low cost thing. And as far as caterers go, we're probably right in the middle. We're definitely not the lowest, but we're not the highest either. And um, we but we offer some really unique things with what we do. Like I said, the cooking fresh. We have all this experience. We know what we're doing. We have really good systems, and people can trust us to make sure that their guests are all going to get fed, which sometimes isn't the way it goes.
What are some of the other things about your product and the way that you guys come on site and present it that changes the whole outlook of what having a pizza catered event looks like?
Yeah, and the dough, everything being fresh. We use local ingredients as much as we can. Those are all really important. It's all we make all of our own sauces. Nothing falls off the Cisco truck into our, pizza. And so, that using high quality ingredients is really important. I really believe that the process of watching it being cooked is one thing that really elevates it. Um, because for us, we've done this a lot, so it's not all that interesting. But for other people, it's really fun to see, and people come up and ask us questions. And there's always at least one or two, pizza geeks in the group that want to come up and talk about the flour and the dough and how hot's the oven and how do you do this and I've been trying this at home and I've had this problem. Can you help me figure this out? Or and we love that because I get to geek out and somebody listens. It's great. Instead of like their eyes glazing over, like, oh, flour, great. Yeah. And so, for us, it's really fun. Um, but it's also fun for the guest. Um, it's not participatory, but it's also not really passive. And um, so I think that elevates it. I think our experience with, like I said, hundreds of weddings and hundreds of different types of venues and different weather and different family dynamics and different things that all come into play. This is really, we really have enough experience that we're comfortable with what we do, and we have processes in place, and so we are not just offering really outstanding handmade fresh food, but also the experience to do it without you worry. You don't have to worry about what you do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and food is such an integral part of, people being together and sharing entertainment experience that you provide, I'm sure is really neat for people, especially I was just thinking about this. Do you guys, because I see it all over social media. I am not like a chef by any means, but everyone always talks about my sourdough starter and they're naming it and all that. So
Right.
is pizza dough kind of like people have like their thing that they name and do and it's like
Well, the thing that is changing pizza a lot right now is the development of these high heat portable ovens. So it used to be if you wanted, a high heat pizza is different than what you might find at, Domino's or Pizza Hut or whatever. It's because it's cooked really fast. When you're cooking pizza in a, 7, 8, 900 degree oven, it comes out different than, when you're cooking it in a 500 degree oven. And it used to be the only way that you could do that is building this huge oven in your yard, or maybe you would attach it to a house or something, and maybe it has um, uh, natural gas or propane or something, but usually it would be wood fired, and is very expensive to do and takes a lot of work. I mean, for us, our oven takes an hour and a half to 2 hours to heat up. So, if you're thinking at work, I'm going to go home and make pizza, it's not happening if don't have that oven already warmed up. And for us, one of the things that we are looking to in the next year is to start selling pizza kits, as a subscription service for these high heat ovens, because we recognize that one of the hardest things for people to figure out is the dough. It's it's a long process and it takes time, and people don't always want to do that. So, we would sell the dough and you know, every month there'd be a different sauce or different toppings or something that'll go with it. And we're still kind of in the developmental phases of that and testing phases, um, but that has changed how people view pizzas. And I would guess some people do name their pizza ovens. So
how many trailers do you guys usually bring for an event? Just one trailer per event and then
yeah, we have two trailers, um, tomato and sweet potato. So, and they are. Um, we could possibly do an event bringing both of them, but that also requires two setups, and we probably wouldn't. We know what we're good at, and we don't want to cater a 400-person event. That's it. To us, that's not what we do. We
Mhm.
lose the intimacy. So, we'll stick with our 250 and under kind of thing, and we can do that pretty easily with one oven.
We kind of touched on the fact that these home pizza ovens are like a food trend that you've recognized for 2025. Are there other food trends that you have recognized that you guys are incorporating either in your appetizers or your food that you see popular for 2025 and moving forward?
Well, we try every year to add some new things to our menu. One of the things that seems to be picking up, I guess, I mean, we've had it for a while, but we are actually adding some new stuff, is um, specialty non-alcoholic drinks. Um, and we really, so we have some lemonades and limeade. And, we do a strawberry basil lemonade and a blueberry cardamom lemonade and things like that. But um, We've also been working with Northern Soda in the Twin Cities for Artisan soda. They do a fantastic job and just have these amazing flavors of soda. Um, and so we really recognize that there seems to be a little bit of a step away from the alcohol,
Mhm.
as being, this big fun focal point of the, the wedding. Definitely a bigger step away from alcohol than, in recent years.
I just put a blog post about that yesterday.
I guess I'm paying attention
It's
then.
more
I must be.
sophisticated to not drink now, which is awesome. I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Um,
That's better for everybody. I mean, we've definitely done some events where there's been a lot of alcohol flowing and it changes the dynamic a lot.
I've seen a lot of people, especially particularly with barn venues, it's like going out into the farmland or something makes them think that, oh, it's time to get wasted, kind of, or something. I don't know. But um, I definitely am one that appreciates the fact that, there has been a turn to move away from alcohol and it's funny because a lot of people think, oh, it's craft cocktails, it's not going to be as expensive, but the art of making a craft cocktail has become just amazing to watch. Just like watching you make your pizza, it's now this thing that you watch and you're like, oh, I want to try to replicate that at home. Or it's really kind of a neat thing. Do people ask you, or maybe you offer this, uh, for a gluten-free or cauliflower, almond flour crust? Is that something that you guys have seen more requests for?
So we have been um, thoughtful about dietary restrictions for quite some time. We have an option for gluten-free, for dairy-free, vegan. That is another trend, is vegan and vegetarian. We have done fully vegan weddings. We've done weddings that are primarily vegan with a couple of vegetarian pizzas added in. Um, and we recognize for some it is a choice, but for others it's really not a choice. It's not like, you know, a trend or, a diet fad. It's actually, they get really sick if they eat some of these things. And so it's really important to us that everyone at our event feels nourished when they are done. And so what we do for folks who are gluten-free is within reason. I mean, we let them know that we are not a gluten-free kitchen.
What I would like to do is for people to get kind of like a picture in their mind of what your service looks like when you're on site. So if you could kind of explain kind of like what the setup kind of looks like. You mentioned it's a trailer, so you're out in the open. Um, if you have a tent or not, um, what when you come on site, how soon do you come on site? And then also once you get moving with food service, um, so like a planner like myself would come over and be like, okay, or, you walk through the timeline or whatever and say, we're ready, for dinner service. How long does it take typically to make everything, before tables can start to be excused for a dinner?
So we usually arrive about a half hour before we're going to start serving, depending on what we're serving, right? So if we're serving appetizers, we would get there, a half hour before that, and dinner service might be after that. But we have this trailer and we set up our whole prep area in front of the trailer. It's uh, about 10 feet by 15 feet total. Um, and we have a table where we stretch the dough, a table where we top the pizzas. We usually have two people who are working at that table. Then it goes into the oven to be fired. We usually have one person who's handling the oven. Then it goes to another table to be cut and plated. And we usually have one person who's cutting and plating and bringing it to the buffet line. We then have a buffet line that's about 12 feet long total. It's 3 4-foot tables. On the buffet line, we provide high quality, compostable, eco friendly plates, napkins, and forks. Those are all there. Then we have our pizzas, our 4 different pizzas that we'll serve, which are up to the bride and groom to choose. We generally give them a little planner when they come close to choosing the time to choose their pizzas. We try to encourage them to pick, one traditional pizza, a couple of non-traditional pizzas, and one vegetarian pizza. And then we'll have the salad at the end for people to grab as they go through. We have a server who works at the table. It's generally Sean, basically because he's the most extroverted, and so we make him talk to people. And he's really good at encouraging people to try things that they might not normally try. And part of why we do that is because we recognize that psychologically people remember things that are unique to them. So outside of their normal experience is what triggers them to remember the event. So we want people to have these great memories of this wedding event, and they can do that by using this, pizza that has maple roasted sweet potatoes and pancetta and blue cheese, and thinking, this is something that I'm not going to like it, or that's just too weird. And then they try it and is like, it's fantastic. This is, amazing. One of the best pizzas I've had. And all of a sudden, we've had people come back 10 years later and say they still remember the pizzas. People in their family still talk about the pizzas that were served at their wedding. We generally anticipate about 225 people through the buffet line every hour. So it goes pretty quick. We have 3 or 4 pizzas in the oven at a time. We have them all laid out. Sean's up there giving everybody, one slice of everything, hopefully, if their dietary restrictions will allow that, and salad, and then people can come back and get seconds. This is another benefit for these rural venues. If somebody doesn't get enough to eat, they're not running out to Taco Bell. They're stuck 2 hours or an hour from the closest place to get some actual food. And so it's really important to us that people get enough to eat. And being in the Midwest, we know that nobody's going to stand up and, walk back up to the buffet during speeches because, nobody wants to be singled out, and we all want to not be rude. So we encourage the bride and groom to make sure that there's plenty of time for people to come back after everybody's gone through once.
Well, and it sounds like the people that still remember your pizzas from 10 years ago are going to be the first customers for your dough kits.
Some of them will be. Well, we've actually had some, we have like a pre-sign up thing on our website. And so we've actually had a few folks who have been, still come, like I said, come back and visit and see us at some public events, and not I guess it wasn't last summer, but the summer before, we actually catered a wedding for a guy who we catered his graduation party 7 years before that. So it's, people really do like it. We have a number of regular as a major event in somebody's life is.
There's so much more to celebrate than a wedding. I always say that. I love when people become lifelong customers, when they're like, now our daughter's having a baby. You need to do the baby shower. Or,
Right.
now we're opening a business. We're having a grand opening. Will you come and do this? That's like the best thing ever. Those are the customers that become more like your family.
Yeah.
That's what you can't ask for more than that as a business owner. And I really loved what you said about how Sean kind of pushes people to try things that they wouldn't have maybe tried. And that's what I love so much about your product and the way that you guys do pizza is because you it's funny because you make things approachable to people that probably they wouldn't try if you put it on their plate by itself. But you put it on the dough with some sauce, and all of a sudden it becomes something that's like, oh, I guess I could try that.
Yeah. We've had people come back and say, I don't like blue cheese. I don't know. I don't want to try it. And Sean will encourage them to try it anyways. And they'll come back and go, I thought I didn't like blue cheese, but this is really good. Got some more of that. Or, things that we have one that has dried cherries and brie cheese and tomatillos. And people are like, tomatillos, I don't know, that's weird, but it goes together really well because the tomatillos have a sourness to them. So they kind of cut through the richness of the brie and the sweetness of the cherries and kind of balance the whole thing out. And so it's a really fun to have people try these things that are just so outside of their box and come back and be like, wow, that was crazy. I can't believe that was so good.
What do you think your biggest takeaway in doing all the events that you have? What do you feel like you've learned about events in general? And any kind of insight for people that are either having an event or have a company that is looking to break into events. What do you feel like you've learned the most?
Well, yeah, there's so much. To narrow that down. Um, these types of events, weddings especially, there are a lot of there's family dynamics that come into play. There's our preconceived notions about what things are supposed to look like. We're all speaking the same language, but what we have behind that language is often different. And so sometimes it's hard to remember that just because I say something this way, that people are going to interpret it the same way that I interpret it. And so, communication is really important. So, a lot of times people who are serving pizza, for their wedding are looking for a very laid back, relaxed kind of vibe for the whole day, right? That's what they're trying to have people take away from their event. They don't want it to be super formal or proper or whatever kinds of things they have experienced in the past that were uncomfortable to them. So this is why they've chosen to go this direction. What often happens, though, is when people are thinking about that, they assume that having less structure makes that vibe happen when it's really kind of the opposite. So, people show up at weddings they want to know what to do. They want to socially be doing the right thing that they're supposed to be doing. And when there is a lack of structure, then people don't know what to do. And it can be a very uncomfortable situation for a lot of people. So we try to encourage our clients to make sure that you have a certain amount of structure, even if you're not doing speeches, even if you're not doing a bunch of these very formal things, you're not doing a grand march or whatever, to still have some structure, because it gives people, it relaxes people more if they know what is expected. And, the last thing we want at a wedding is somebody like a free for all for dinner. where, oh, we're just kind of doing it like, this casual thing, and people can just come up and get pizza for a couple hours. Like, nope, that doesn't work. We're not going to do that. You need to let people know how to get their food, because if you just have a free for all and everybody just runs up to the buffet, then it's actually going to take longer for people to get their food, because people get a scarcity mindset and they start taking way more than they want or need, because they're afraid there's not going to be enough, and then it makes other people have to wait, and then we can't keep up properly. Whereas when there's a nice smooth flowing of that, it just has to be for the first time through, so everybody's got, knows that they're going to get enough to eat, then you can open it up. But when people are like, oh no, we're not going to release tables, or we're just going to let people do whatever, it just doesn't work. So that would be my thing that we see a lot of.
Great advice. Absolutely, I agree with you. When you don't have somebody like excusing tables, or, having a menu on the table that says, when you walk up to the buffet, this is what's going to be there for you. It's
Right.
Those communicative pieces of information that tell people, okay, I'm taken care of. I can relax. This is fun. Like, I know that, they're, going to be excusing tables from the front to the back, or, vice versa. Like, yes, I agree with you completely on that.
Yeah, we've had some really interesting experiences with event planners, and there's a very it seems like there's two different mindsets, and one is um, the event planner handles the venue, or not the venue, the vendors. So they see their job as handling the vendors, and the other side is event planners who see their job as handling the clients, the bride and groom, or the mother of the bride, or whoever the person driving the wedding is. And the people who are trying to handle the vendors are harder for us to work with generally, because they're not educating their clients about what it actually means to have, these things happen. We can tell them this is how it works. It's going to take X amount of time, and the bride or groom wants to have speeches in the middle of dinner service. It's their job as the wedding, in my opinion, it's their job as the planner to say, no, you can't do that, because people aren't going to move. They're not going to get up. They're going to feel awkward. Mm-hmm. So, but we get that kind of pushback sometimes from the people who feel like they want to show they're in control of the vendors, mm-hmm. as opposed to educating the clients gently to say, this is going to work so much better for you and your guests if you do it this way.
Right. I know so often. And it really is like a cohesive system. Like on the event day, you really have to be, all the vendors are working together to, kind of make this work. If there's a vendor that's not and needs to be the star of the show, as like oftentimes you'll see DJs kind of or something, certain types of people that are extroverts try to, take over whatever. But when it really is a cohesive unit of vendors that understand our job is to guide the guests through everything, not necessarily tell each other what to do, like kind of thing. Like the 6 weeks leading up to that, up to the event day, that's the time where vendors connect and, work out the timeline and, talk about all the different scenarios, not on the wedding day.
We love what we do. I spent 12 years before this as a dispatcher for the local sheriff's department. So I dealt with people on the worst day of their lives. And now I go to their parties. It's awesome. I mean, it really is. It's still just as important of an event, but it's fun. And we still have fun with what we're doing. And for us, the relationships that we make with our clients are just as important as the transaction. We love meeting people and talking about pizza and about some of the fun things that we're doing. And so, yeah, I couldn't pick a better job. I love it.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much for taking the time today. I'm sorry that Sean couldn't be here because he's fun to talk to too sometimes about all this stuff and about you guys having this amazing business. I think it's just so awesome. And I hope I get to work with you guys soon. And I know that people will find this a great piece of information and keep doing the good stuff.
We really appreciate you doing this whole thing. And if nothing else, you're going to have to come out and try some pizza.
Yes.
So, thank you so much, Kat. And I hope you have a wonderful day while it's still warm.
Yes, I'm going to go for a run right now.
Fabulous.
Well, there you have it. Those are some awesome, beautiful tips that Maaren shared with us today, and I am so glad that you joined us. Make sure that you join us again and subscribe to our podcast. Follow us on all of our social media channels and look for more tips for you to live life being adored in every area of your life. Until next time, live life being adored. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Live Life Being Adored. Make sure you like and subscribe our podcast or our YouTube channel and check out Adore Magazine at adoremegonline.com and Adore Productions, adore-productions.com. Have a great day and live life being adored until next time.